But first, and this may surprise you initially, the former Foreign Minister of Armenia, Vartan Oskanian, who's also the founder of the non-profit organisation the Civilitas Foundation. Why are we talking Armenia, though? Well, it is a big exporter to Europe, but also to Russia, so it's really getting hit by a double downturn without actually being part of the central crisis area. So let's talk to Mr. Oskanian now, joining us from Yerevan this week. Thank you for your time, sir. Just on a current note, first of all, the fact that Moody's downgraded Armenia's credit rating this week, down 2 notches, and put it on a negative watch. How much do you think is that a reflection of Armenia's own economy or simply its exposure to Europe and Russia?
Well, I think it's the latter. Armenia's economy is exposed to global economy, although we are a small country. And if 2009 recession is any indication, I think any new slowdown or recession in the global economy will clearly impact Armenia. And since this time it seems like the origins of this slowdown could be Europe, that impact could even be more direct on Armenia, because European Union is Armenia's largest trading partner. Armenia exports metals, diamonds to Germany, Bulgaria, and Belgium. Of course, the second conduit is Russia, which is the second largest trade partner for Armenia, the biggest investor in Armenia, and the source of 75% of all remittances that come into Armenia. Armenia exports mostly agricultural products to Russia, raw and processed. So any global slowdown clearly will affect Russia and will change these elements and factors, and consequently Armenia's economy will be affected. So I think Moody's decision was based on this exposure.
So bearing all of that in mind, is there any way that Armenia can maybe not become more self-sufficient, but perhaps move away from the types of things you've talked about, the mining and the agriculture and the natural resources, or is it really always going to be almost 100% dependent on the export market?
Well, 2009 recession, of course, brought this issue home, and diversification clearly became government's priority. It's not that it was not, but suddenly the government began to pay more attention because Armenia was one of the hardest hit economies. Actually, we were the second hardest hit in 2009. Our GDP declined 14.5%, which is huge for Armenia's economy. So since then, we've been questioning the reasons of that decline when our neighbors' decline was much less than ours. And the answer is, among many other things, inefficiency of the governance, structural problems, was also the issue of diversification. So along with the traditional industries that we inherited from the Soviet period, such as mining, agriculture, Armenia, I believe, has tremendous potential in other areas, such as information technology, because we have well-educated population, in tourism and services, because the country is beautiful and the people are hospitable, and also putting the emphasis on small and mid-sized enterprises, because Armenians are very entrepreneurial. Our neighbors, have many other attractions. Georgia is a transit country, has access to sea. Azerbaijan has oil and gas. Armenia is a landlocked country, has no natural resources. It's small size in population and territory. So our only attraction for foreign investment, which is very necessary to develop those areas so that we diversify our economy, require further democratization of our society, rule of law, broader justice, so that those will become Armenia's attractions. And the government clearly recognizes that. We've made a lot of headway in those directions, but I don't think we've done enough.
I wonder if I can ask you about another issue, actually, which doesn't necessarily fall under the global slowdown, but it may affect you economically, and this is Iran. The more that the West seeks to put sanctions on Iran, the effect that that has on you as one of, well, Iran's neighbours, and the future of things like the gas pipeline which you're building between the countries.
Well, sanctions on Iran so far has not affected Armenia. If there's any additional sanctions because of this latest developments with regard to the nuclear arms, clearly those sanctions will come to bite Armenia. There's no doubt about it. But on the other hand, Armenia is a member of the international community and is bound to honor mandatory sanctions. That's why Armenia's position has always been that this conflict with Iran be resolved through negotiations so that we can avoid additional sanctions, clearly that we can avoid any military action that will be extremely detrimental for the region in its entirety. So Armenia's position is that we need to have a negotiated settlement there because additional sanctions may eventually tantamount for Armenia of having a third closed border, which Armenia cannot afford to have.
That is Vartan Oskanian, the former Armenian foreign minister, joining us this week on Counting the Cost. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure was mine. Thank you.